Welcome to Dry Tortugas National Park.
You probably heard me mention on the boat, this is one of the most remote national parks in the entire 48 states. We can't compare with Alaska and American Samoa and Guam and things like that, but for the good old homebound USA, we're pretty well off the grid for most accounts. A masonry structure that doesn't have something like rebar in it and internal support system.
Okay, the center is actually a group effort among a bunch of nonprofit and government agencies. It opened in 2007.
In this episode, Discoveries America National Parks travels to the Florida Keys, specifically Key West, the southernmost tip of the United States. This has been a part of the United States ever since 1822, when Commander Matthews...
Important, you might ask. What is 90 miles south of us? Cuba. What flows between us and Cuba?
People.
Well, that's true. Before the people. The reason the people sail through there. Cruise ships, the Gulf Stream. It's actually called the Florida Stream, or the Florida Current at this point, but it's the headwater, shall we say, of the Gulf Stream. Okay, very important to the Spaniards in the 16th century because, well, how much wind do we have? Not much, and if you're on a sailboat, this doesn't work out well for you. Ponce de Leon discovered this area in 1513. He also found that Gulf Stream. Okay, but there's lots of currents going through here. Okay, so if you're at the beginning of the reef and you have a lot of healthy fish and coral and turtles and everything else out here, what do those currents do to all those babies? They take them right up the rest of the Keys and up the eastern seaboard. Okay, so we are a venerable cornucopia of life for the marine environment for the Florida Keys and the eastern seaboard. Okay, how many people are going in Key West and going to go fishing while you're here? Okay, how many people are going to eat seafood while you're in Key West? Yeah. Okay, so how important do you think it is to have a healthy reef fish population? So it's very, very important. It's important environmentally as well as economically to the Florida Keys that we know as much as we can about the ecosystem, okay? The entire Florida reef system is set aside under NOAA, the National Oceanographic Atmospheric Administration, as the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. The entire waters we've been in has been part of that. The Park Service is then a subset under that jurisdiction out here at the Dry Tortugas. What that translates out to is that had the fort been completely armed, 150 cannon can be brought to bear simultaneously anywhere around the fort, which was a very significant amount of firepower to be slinging iron down range at one time. But it's like I say, once again, these aren't afterthoughts. These are actually design features for the fort that shaped the entire shape of the fort. So whenever you see something like that, like I say, everything may look attractive or have an aesthetic quality, it always has a practical purpose. Okay. So now to talk about something a little fun I alluded to earlier. You have 1,500 men designed to live here. What color is the uniform you're wearing back in those days? Civil War days. Blue. What's it made out of? Wool. What kind of wool? Hot. Very well. Very good. Hot and heavy wool. Okay. We don't have enough fresh water. You've got mostly, during the Civil War, the first regiments here were all from Pennsylvania or New York. They were rookies. They were first time away from home. They were not very happy. They were thirsty. They were hot. They were miserable. What kind of food do you think you're eating? Fish. You do eat fish. It's actually only fresh food you get. What other kind of food are you eating? Canned salt pork, hardtack. From up here about the parade ground, you can see from this vantage point. First of all, you can see the house. That's the engineer's quarters. Had they finished that, that would have been another big 3-story building, but they never got that far. The Park Service actually rebuilt it in the 1930s and has been park housing ever since. If you look behind us here, this is Bush and Long Key. As I was trying to label out on the boat right in, Long Key has the trees on it, and Bush Key is just this big, wide kind of grassland looking area. The frigate birds, you see them hovering around, only known nesting colony year-round in the United States. They have about a 7-foot wingspan, weigh 3 to 5 pounds. We call them kleptoparasitic. They like to steal food from other birds. They can't actually get wet. Their feathers don't have the oil in them to keep them dry. So they'll skim the surface for water, or skim surface the water for fish, or steal from other birds.